Hello everybody! Today, we're going on an exciting journey back in time to explore the amazing world of ancient Egyptian art. Before we learn everything about their art, let's take a second to understand their incredible civilization. Ancient Egypt was one of the most powerful civilizations in history. It lasted for over 3,000 years, from around 3100 BCE until 30 BCE, when Egypt became part of the Roman Empire. The Egyptians lived along the Nile River, which helped them grow their food, build cities, and develop a rich culture. Their art was very important because it told stories about their gods, pharaohs, and daily life. Egypt was ruled by pharaohs, who were considered both kings and gods on earth. Some of the most famous ones include Ramses II, Cleopatra, and Tutankhamun. These rulers built incredible monuments and temples to honor themselves and their gods. Speaking of gods, the Egyptians believed in so many. Some of the most important ones were Ra, the sun god, Anubis, the god of the afterlife, and Isis, the god of magic and motherhood. These gods were often depicted in art with unique features, such as animal heads representing their powers. For example, Anubis had the head of a jackal, symbolizing his connection to the afterlife, while Horus had the head of a falcon, representing protection and kinship. The Egyptians also invented one of the first forms of writing called hieroglyphs. These were symbols that represented sounds, words, or ideas. They carved them onto temple walls, tombs, and scrolls made of papyrus. Thanks to these writings, we know a lot about how the Egyptians lived and what they believed in. And how do we know what hieroglyphs means? Well, the answer is the Rosetta Stone. This incredible artifact helped historians decode Egyptian hieroglyphs because it had the same text written in 3 different languages. Let's explore Egyptian architecture, then we'll move on to their sculptures, and finally, we'll dive into their fascinating paintings. Egyptian architecture is famous for its massive and impressive buildings. The most well-known are the pyramids. But what's exactly a pyramid? A pyramid is a huge stone structure with a square base and 4 triangular sides that meet at a point on the top. These were built as tombs for the pharaohs, filled with treasures and secrets. The most famous pyramids are the Pyramids of Giza, built for the 3 great pharaohs, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built for Pharaoh Khufu, is the largest and one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It is made of around 2.3 million limestone blocks, each weighing between 2.5 and 15 tons. Can you imagine how much effort it took to build such a massive structure without modern technology? Temples were also very important. The Karnak Temple and Abu Simbel are great examples. These temples were built for gods and decorated with statues, hieroglyphs, and huge columns. Other famous temples include Luxor Temple, which was dedicated to the god Amun, and the Temple of Hatshepsut, which honored one of Egypt's most famous female pharaohs. The Egyptians also pioneered in the use of columns in architecture. They created different types, like the lotus, papyrus, and palm-shaped columns, which influenced Greek and Roman architecture later on. One of the most exciting discoveries in Egyptian history was made by archaeologist Howard Carter in 1922. He found the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun, also known as King Tut. This tomb was special because it was almost completely untouched, filled with treasures, golden artifacts, and even King Tut's famous golden mask. This discovery helped us learn a lot about the Egyptian burial practices and their incredible artistry. Now, let's talk about the sculptures. The Egyptians created the statues to honor their gods and rulers, like the Great Sphinx, which has the body of a lion and the head of a pharaoh. See how huge it is? I wonder where her nose went. Other statues were less smaller and beautifully detailed, like the famous bust of Queen Nefertiti, which is considered one of the most stunning works of art from ancient Egypt. Many statues depicted pharaohs in a seated or standing position, often with a calm and powerful expression. The seated statues of Ramses II at Abu Simbel are great examples of how sculptures were made to show the strengths and the divine nature of the ruler. These statues were often placed in temples and tombs to honor their dead and connect them to the gods. Now it's time to explore Egyptian painting. Egyptian art was not just about beauty, it had a deep purpose. Paintings were used to tell stories, record history, and ensure a person's journey to the afterlife. Many of these artworks were found in tombs and temples, decorating walls with colorful and symbolic scenes. Egyptian paintings had several unique characteristics. One of the most recognizable features is how people were depicted. Head is in side profile, shoulders facing forward, and arms or legs in a side view. This gave figures a structured, recognizable look. Pharaohs and gods were always shown larger than any other figures, symbolizing their importance and divine status, while common people were painted smaller. Colors also had specific meanings. Men were usually painted in reddish, brown tones, while women were shown in a lighter, yellowish tone. The subjects of Egyptian paintings were also unique. Artists painted daily life, religious ceremonies, and mythological scenes. These artworks were not meant to be realistic in a modern sense, but rather to communicate a clear message about life, power, and the gods. Look at this painting. See how it follows all the rules we talk about? The figures are drawn using traditional Egyptian style. Heads are shown in side profile, shoulders face forward, and arms or legs are in a side view. We have two outstanding figures, meaning they were very important. The man has a reddish-brown tone, while they use a lighter tone for the woman. The scene tells a story that talks about their daily life. This is a perfect example of how Egyptian artists use their strict artistic rules to create meaningful and lasting imagery. This beautiful painting shows us a nobleman hunting bears in the marshes. His wife and daughter are with him, and the scene is full of life with detailed plants and animals. This painting shows how Egyptians use bright colors and careful details to depict nature. This other painting shows Pharaoh Ramses II leading his army into battle. The horses, chariots, and soldiers are shown in action, telling a powerful story of war and victory. See how the pharaoh is huge compared to the other figures? This papyrus scroll shows scenes from the afterlife. One famous image shows the weighing of the heart ceremony, where the god Anubis judges a person's soul. These paintings help guide the spirit safely to the afterlife. Egyptian art is one of the most fascinating legacies of the ancient world. Through architecture, sculpture, and painting, the Egyptians created a lasting impression of their culture, beliefs, and daily life. Their artistic styles influenced many later civilizations, and their monuments continue to inspire us today. By studying their art, we gain a deeper understanding of how they saw the world, honored their gods, and preserved their history for future generations. So what do you think about their art? Let me know in the comments. I hope you learned something new in this video, and I will see you very soon. Bye!